Humans never have and never will stop innovating. The deep-seated desire to make things better is inescapable, and we'll continue to build on the advances made by those great innovators of the past till our world is a piece of science fiction. Well, it's safe to say technology will rule the future. In this video, we'll check out 5 of the top technological inventions coming in the next 30 years. Number 5. Sound fire extinguishers. Wildfires are certainly a huge problem in our world today. With the millions of people who have lost their belongings and even their lives from this tragic force of nature, it's a relief to hear that futuristic technology may be coming to the rescue. Instead of extinguishing with water or some other solution, researchers at George Mason University developed a way to extinguish fire with sound. Sound waves are used to disrupt the air pressure surrounding the flames, causing them to be deprived of oxygen and fizzle out. This technology is being used to put out small kitchen fires and stuff like that. Inventors have a vision of attaching these to drones that could swarm a forest fire and blot out the roaring blaze without endangering the lives of firefighters in the process.
We're just going to test out our device that we use that uses sound frequencies to extinguish flames.
I see this device being applied to a lot of things. First off, I think in the kitchen, it could be on top of a stovetop. But eventually, I'd like to see this applied to maybe swarm robotics, where it'd be attached to a drone, and that would be applied to forest fires or even building fires where you wouldn't want to sacrifice human life.
Number 4. Robotic guide dog. The service animal of the future is even cooler than what its name implies. Now, if you've ever seen a service dog in action, they are astounding. The amount of care and intelligence in those animals will bring tears to your eyes. While service animals will certainly continue to be a part of the future, they are difficult to distribute on a massive scale. Each animal has to be bred and rigorously trained. Then the owner of the animal must also be trained with the dog before taking it home. This can be both expensive and quite difficult. If you think about it, someone in need of a service animal is unlikely to be able to make all those logistics happen. So the solution to this problem heading into our world quickly is a robotic replica of the service these wonderful dogs provide. A student at Loughborough University has designed a handheld controlled momentum gyroscope, or CMG, that receives input in real time about the user's surroundings and translate that into a safe and effective path through which it will lead the user by guiding his or her hand in the correct direction. While this certainly won't replace service animals, a very promising alternative to those unable to handle the cost and training required to own one. A robotic guide dog could simply be sent through the mail, charged up and powered on. Simple as that. And when not in use, the robotic guide dog can simply be placed inside a bag, purse, or even in your pocket. I know you were probably expecting something more like Jeff Bezos' RoboDog, weren't you? But how much cooler is that gyroscope?
FEAR is a mobility device for visually impaired people. Essentially, the best way to describe it is a guide dog in a machine. In order to use FEAR, the person simply says, "Hey FEAR, take me to, for example, Cabot Circus." From this voice command, FEAR will then program a route much like a car's GPS system. But instead of telling someone to turn left or turn right at the right time, FEAR leads the users around corners and past obstacles.
Number 3. Fully immersive VR. While things like the robotic guide dog are a no-brainer, why wouldn't we do that? This one, a little more controversial. The way we as humans experience the world is 100% through the sensory inputs our bodies receive from our surroundings. The way you know where you're sitting right now is through the visual appearance of your surroundings, as well as the feeling of sitting in your chair or on a bus, combined with any smells you're experiencing. Aside from those inputs, you have no way of experiencing reality at all. So when we consider today's virtual reality, we think of it taking over our sense of sight, perhaps sound. That's it. It isn't all that difficult to differentiate between what's real and what's manufactured just by checking in with, say, your sense of touch while wearing a virtual reality headset. But the VR of the future is going to hijack more and more of these senses, starting with your sense of touch. In what is known as fully immersive virtual reality, users are booted in through the use of a suit that, once it's on, has complete command of the wearer's senses. As this technology progresses, the makers of VR will be able to simulate reality more and more clearly, thus blurring the lines between the real and the manufactured, and even causing some to prefer the virtual world. Even now, plenty of people are so addicted to video games and the unreal world of the screen, their needs for human connection are not being met. Just imagine if this highly addictive activity could produce an exact replica of reality. You'd no longer be playing a video game, you'd be living it. I'm sure you can see by now how this may lead to some dark places, but at the same time, really cool to try. But it's not just for gaming purposes. Many useful applications of this technology can be imagined, and some are already happening. For instance, tactile virtual reality has been employed to give disabled veterans the ability to feel the touch of their families again. It can even allow people to touch each other through things like video calls. Would you try this form of VR? Leave a comment, let us know what you think. I'm a little concerned that we would forget which ones was real and come back to normal life profoundly confused.
So we've been working on a thin, flexible, soft sheet that can interface directly with the surface of the skin in a completely programmable way that's tied to a touchscreen software interface on a computer system. By touching the screen, you can reproduce a virtual sense of touch across that system as it's interfaced to the skin.
Number 2, floating farms. With a rapidly increasing population, some worry that the Earth will not be able to provide enough food for its inhabitants in the future. However, technological innovation is going to solve this issue, no problem. One of those ways is the INGENIOUS floating farm. Since most people will live in cities and most of the food's produced outside of the city, the process of driving it in is quite inefficient. Instead, farms could be constructed on bodies of water in or near these urban locations, providing food to the inhabitants without the logistical issues of transporting it in. The 3-tiered structures contain solar panels on top for power, which would pump a nutrient solution onto the plants, growing on the 2nd tier. Nutrients that run through the plants as well as other plant matter would fall down into the enclosed water area where it would feed the fish being farmed below. This is both convenient and efficient while minimizing stress on the environment and really seems to be the food source of the future. Hope you like sushi. Number 1, cryonics. One of the most intense human desires is to avoid death, and that's reasonable enough considering that we're all headed for death at some point. Can't know with complete certainty what awaits us there. One of the ways researchers have attempted to cheat death is through cryonics, or the science of freezing. While we may be tempted to write this off as some sort of science fiction, let's just remember that the idea of the internet, airplanes, and even cars at one point seemed laughable. Now, they're all commonplace. So while we can't know if this has any real promise, we can at least give it a fair shake. The main idea behind cryonics is to freeze a recently deceased person in hopes of reviving them at some point in the future. When a person, or any living thing for that matter, is frozen, you basically hit the pause button on nature, which will be unpaused once thawed. Think of the frozen broccoli in your freezer. It was picked and quickly frozen, allowing it to remain in its healthy, harvested state until you restart it with your microwave. Cryonics seek to do the exact same thing with dead people. A little more delicate with humans because of crystallization occurs within the body, then cells start to be destroyed. So, simply put, the body's pumped full of an antifreeze solution before being placed in a cylinder of liquid nitrogen where it will await its hopeful resurrection. Hundreds of people have been frozen in this way, and several celebrities have expressed interest in being frozen, including Larry King, Britney Spears, Paris Hilton, and Austin Powers. Or wait, I think that was just a movie.
Irresistible to women, deadly to his enemies, a legend in his own time.
While nobody's been revived yet, scientists behind these advances remain hopeful that it will happen at some point in the future. I hope you could see from this video that our future is a bright one, and we've just barely scratched the surface of the amazing technology headed our way in the next 30 years. If you enjoyed watching today, give this video a thumbs up and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell so you'll be the first to hear when we release more great videos.